Troglodyte warning. Politics Joe went to Clacton to ask the residents, do they regret voting for Nigel Farage? So let's get straight into the video.
You might get a lot of Americans coming here.
Those sort of issues need to be dealt with locally, not by him going off to America and courting the likes of Trump and Musk.
Freedom of speech in England, I don't think that's here anymore, where people get arrested outside places where they're saying a prayer.
In 2014, a Times journalist reported on the Conservatives' chances against UKIP in an upcoming by-election in Clacton. The journalist wrote that the Conservatives cannot look like a party for the resentful and still appeal to the cheerful. If you want to win Cambridge, you may have to let go of Clacton.
UKIP won that by-election, and 10 years later, Clacton once again cast the Conservatives aside.
The good people here returned Reform leader Nigel Farage to Parliament with 46.2% of the vote, the highest vote share Reform got in the general election. That shouldn't be that surprising. Clacton is whiter, older, and less economically active than the national average, and is one of the many seaside towns across the UK that feels left behind. With Reform now breathing down Labour's neck in the polls, I wanted to meet the people who voted for them before it was cool. So I came down to Clacton to ask,
What do you make of Nigel Farage?
Well, I think he makes a lot of sense.
And I think he is a genuine guy, and obviously if people in Clacton back him, then it has to be for a reason.
What is about Farage and the Reform Party that made people turn out for him?
Well, without being a bit racist, yeah, go on.
It's
Alarm bells ringing. Again, if anyone interviewed me, I would never have to make that caveat. Without being racist, this should be interesting. Careful.
it's for the people of this area, shall we say?
Yeah.
The older
What does he mean by that? Decode the language. What do you think he means by that? Comment below. White people, maybe?
generation, even the younger generation.
The very British generation,
Yeah.
I would say. Yeah.
What generation? If you could put that into an age category, what's the British generation?
I would say age.
But
The British generation, i.e. people who were born here, their parents were born here, they're white. But they can't be honest about it. And it seeps into the public psyche that you use the dog whistles and you kind of talk, you have these far right views that of English exceptionalism, that we need to look after our own, that immigrants are getting all these benefits and they're living the high life. No, it's a very different reality. But to hear people talk, and it is important to hear people talk because they're just kind of just blurting out what they're being told on GB News, in the Daily Mail. So, I'm not being mean to them, but they are just parroting the same lines that Farage and his ilk say.
I think rather than saying age, I mean, a lot of old people around here do like him, but I think there's a lot of younger people coming round to ideas for thinking for themselves these days. There have been years and years where younger generation have been force-fed a type of ideology in schools and what have you. Now they're beginning to think for themselves, and they're coming round to the thought that they want Britain for British values and British values only. I'm not saying that we can't accommodate other people, but if you come into the country,
You kind of are, though, British values only. Again, with the euphemism, it is cowardly. Why can't he talk about how people integrate, how people, again, it's that division. And he's been taught that. He's saying young people are able to think for themselves now. No, they're just being fed this right-wing propaganda, which seeks to divide people. And again, the euphemism is so clear here.
you have to support the country and its values and its ways. As simple as
Yeah,
that.
we found coming to Clacton is very British.
Yeah, it is. It's
Very
just-
British.
Yeah, very British.
I find that,
Nobody's perfect.
But what do they mean by that? What do they mean by that? He should have pushed back. What do you mean by British? Because I'm sorry, if you live here, you're a resident, you're a citizen, you're as British as I am, and I was born here. what does that truly mean? Again, what does it mean? Often it does mean white to them. And I'm sorry, why? Because they always say, oh, not interested in race, it's values. Most people who come over here, immigrants, they do integrate. And often they are more proud to be British than I am.
No, he's perfect. And he's certainly not perfect, but he's making a lot of sense about all these young men who are coming over here in boats and being put up in hotels and things. And, you know, it's a terrible drain on the country, and we're struggling as it is.
Not really. The drain is the people at the top. How are they draining the economy when they're coming here through legal means, they're allowed to seek asylum or refugee status? These people are not the drain on the economy. It's the people at the top. So again, punching down on the most vulnerable, the most desperate people who risk their lives to come over on small boats for something better. And they are statistically coming from Iraq, Afghanistan, Iran, Eritrea, war-torn countries that often we've had a hand in destroying. So again, just misinformation and just the same propaganda they're being fed day to day by GB News.
He got 46% of the vote share here in the general election. Why do you think he did so well in Clacton?
I don't know. I would suppose it's just a demographic of people that are sort of from East London, from London, fed up with coming out of their front doors and not seeing things change. I didn't vote for Brexit, but when Brexit came along, the expectations was that there was going to be certain differences which haven't sort of happened, which is where...
Again, the euphemism, he can't speak directly, changes. Well, ironically, since Brexit, immigration has gone up massively. Highest levels in 20 years plus. So, again, the cowardly euphemism.
I do agree that as a country we do need to do something about the immigration problem, but how you get around that, I don't know. It has to be done properly, legally, but again, because I think he is highlighting that more than the other politicians, that's a very good reason why I think a lot of people voted for him.
Did you vote for him?
No.
No. Who did you vote for?
Tory.
I don't really know. People want to change, and he seems to be giving or talking about giving, you know, everything that he's trying to do. So if it works,
he's doing what he say he's trying to do. So you know, people respect that he's not lying to people. He is trying to do things for the area.
But what about Brexit? He was the biggest proponent of Brexit. How has that worked out? Have we seen the benefits of Brexit? Does he talk about Brexit? No, he doesn't. So it's the same old thing. Now he's jumped onto immigration. Will he solve it? Is he able to solve it? What other policies does he have? What does he truly stand for? He is a one-trick pony. So again, she's right. People do want change, but Farage is not the answer. And he's not going to improve these people's lives at all. Like, not at all. And will people realise that? I don't know.
That's what people appreciate. That's why he's getting the following.
Did you both vote for him?
yeah, I did, actually.
Yeah.
What was your consideration when you're marking your ballot paper?
Because we don't believe the other parties carry out what they promised to do.
That's right. Give someone else a chance, you know, and if he's as good as what he says he is, hopefully it'll work.
On the other...
I understand that. I empathise with that. The other parties, you know, Tories have not done well. Labour seem to not be doing well. I mean, at the moment, that remains to be seen. But it is true. There is a real desperation and real desire for change. And again, Farage is not the answer, but people do want something different. And that does give me hope, ultimately, that if an alternative, a leftist, progressive alternative is offered, and you have a charismatic leader, and you sell the public a story about who's really running the country, who has all the wealth, and how we need to change and invest in our country, I think you could really excite people and get people excited. That's what it's about. But that doesn't exist at the moment. So, again, where is the hope for people? Farage is the only hope for a lot of people. And I do genuinely empathise and sympathise with that.
The side of the coin, I don't think he's perhaps has centred on the town as he should be.
What makes you say that?
Again, I can only go by social media, spending too much time in America, worrying about other people, other issues, rather than being in the town, sorting out our problems, our health problems. There's no national health dentists to be found anywhere around. Those sort of issues need to be dealt with locally, not by him going off to America and courting the likes of Trump and Musk.
I think he's good for Clacton in the sense that everyone knocks Trump, but he's got contacts with America. Now, when Trump gets in, well, he'd never come here, but you might get a lot of Americans coming here.
And then what issues matter to people who live here?
That people are allowed to sort of have their own opinions, which we find on YouTube, that people that aren't supposed to say things and think things anymore that they normally would, as freedom of speech in England. I don't think that's here anymore. Where people.
Well, it all depends what you mean. If you're being racist, no, that's not acceptable. To judge people on their race and say certain people are allowed to live here and certain people aren't is not acceptable. Historically, look at how that kind of ended up. Where did that lead to? So yeah, if you're being racist, no. Again, they just want this freedom of speech. Again, the euphemism, so much cowardly euphemism. Freedom of speech. Yeah, they want freedom of speech of accountability for what they're saying. And I'm sorry, you have freedom of speech, and so do I. That's how it works. It's a beautiful system.
People get arrested outside places where they're saying a prayer.
That was you're talking about the case where a gentleman was charged after he was praying silently outside. Yeah. Was it an abortion clinic?
No, he was praying for his son who died. And it was perhaps near a hospital. I don't know. I don't think it was an abortion clinic, no.
I think it was inside a buffer zone.
Maybe. I don't know.
Well, it used to be very...
Well, did it happen? Did it not? Again, it doesn't matter, does it, to them? Because, again, they just play the victim of like, oh, you can't say anything these days. Well, you can. People online, some of the biggest YouTube channels say the most ludicrous, racist stuff. There's a big platform for racism, so don't act like you can't say racist stuff online. Elon Musk does it all the time. Donald Trump, Farage, countless people.
Peaceful and quiet. I think lately, I don't know. I feel like this younger generation is more loud, more... I don't know how to explain it. Just doesn't have the same sort of respect that I had for elders growing up.
Right.
At least that's how I feel. But in general, it's a good place. I think it's a good community. But I think in terms of my career progression, I would definitely be looking to move out of Clacton and maybe to London and so on.
Is that a case for like your friends in the area?
My friends, some of them are already in London themselves. They moved out after completing university. And myself, I've just been looking to get some experience first and get some savings going before I actually step out and move away.
Bus travel.
What's wrong with the bus travel?
Well, there's not a very good service at all. We live in Great Clacton. There is one bus an hour, if you're lucky. Often I come into town on the bus, it's not too bad that way, but going back, if they're short of drivers, it seems to be that bus they always cancel. Mm-hmm. And yet buses to Jaywick run 3 or 4 an hour.
How long have you lived here?
And Nigel Farage is not going to solve that at all. He wants to cut public spending. He's not going to put more bus lines on and hire more bus drivers. He's going to do the opposite. So he's not the solution. I understand people are frustrated and want genuine change. And for a lot of people, Farage represents that. He is charismatic. He is promising reform to politics. But he will not deliver. He will not deliver.
Before?
We came down in 1970.
Wow, it's a long time.
Yes.
How has the town changed in that period, do you think?
Well, recently it's very sad. Lots of shops have closed.
Mm-hmm.
Lots of shops have closed, so we haven't got Marks and Spencers anymore. Various places have closed down because of, the pandemic and what happened after that, and people just haven't got back to normal again.
Mm-hmm. What's your favourite thing about Clacton?
I wonder what you meant by what happened after then. I mean, again, I don't want to imply, but Amazon has killed the high street. People buy online now. So how do we deal with that? That's a big issue. But politicians aren't talking about it. Farage isn't going to bring the high street back to life, is he? So, again, what are the alternatives?
My favourite thing about is coming out, walking by the coast, the fresh air, and the people are very, very friendly here, very friendly. Everyone says good morning and everything. I feel very relaxed. I feel very happy here.
Mm-hmm. You mentioned off camera that Clacton has a bad reputation. Why would you say that?
I think it goes back to the 60s, when all the mods and rockers came down here and caused havoc and what have you, and it never really regained its old status that it had before.
But after being here for a little while, I sadly got cancer.
I'm sorry.
But yeah, I'm fine. But yeah, so that was a big shock.
Yeah.
But I used to go walk after I had my radiotherapy. Every day when I come home, I used to go for a walk, about 2 hours down to Farage and Sea. Used to walk there and back, which gave me a lot of respite.
Yeah,
it really did. So I was really pleased that I had this, and the people were very friendly and helpful.
I don't know what the name of the thing is, but he said we must come out of it.
The ECHR.
Yeah. Don't do those things with letters very well. They're all frightened to do that, and I think he'll do it.
Do you think people are frightened because the ECHR protects your right to your family life, to private life? It protects journalistic freedoms. Do you think all that is worth perhaps losing to stop small boats?
Well, it's not a small thing, is it? They are absolutely coming over here in droves. Over Christmas it was thousands,
There you go. Hit the like button, and I'll see you next video.